Let's do this thing and go live. Ladies and gentlemen, PTSD and childhood traumas are not just disorders. They are life-altering prisons that lock millions in a cycle of pain and despair. Today, we're breaking those chains with an extraordinary guest, Nina Presman, with her unparalleled expertise in blending counseling and psychology with quantum energy. Nina has revolutionized the realm of emotional and mental healing. She's not just a coach, she's a medical intuitive who has leveraged her own journey from trauma to enlightenment to help countless others. Today, we're going to delve deep into how she employs quantum energy and metaphysical phenomena to liberate those suffering from PTSD and childhood traumas. So, prepare to refine yourself, your thoughts, your mental capacity, everything we're going to learn about Nita, and we're going to have a good time doing it. Here we go. Hi, everybody. I am Michael J., and this is A Funny Way of Looking, where diverse voices meet open minds every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. You can also find us over on afunnywayoflooking.com and everywhere your favorite podcasts are aired and played, and you can listen to us at the gym or while you're running or anything else. So be sure to subscribe to us also at funnywayoflooking.com. Hi, Nina. How are you doing today?
Hello, everybody. How are you? How's everybody doing today? It's doing wonderful.
Let me ask you a question. We're going to start this out the right way. Hardest question of the day. Who do you want to do a shout out to?
Oh, my dog.
Yeah?
Definitely my dog.
What's your dog's name?
Thea. She's
Thea?
a German Shepherd. She's a huge German Shepherd.
Awesome. I love German Shepherds. They're like one of my favorite dogs ever.
I got 3 of them, mom, dad, and she's the baby.
Holy cow. Okay. There you go. So let's talk about trauma, PTSD. Let's talk about how you help people get over it, past it. And let's start at the very beginning. What's your story? Like, what's your origin story, and how did your
I'm going to
healing
go through
journey
this
enlighten?
really quick because my story is quite long. I actually have a book coming out. It's going to be called When the Soul Speaks. It's about
Okay.
my journey to enlightenment, basically. I was born in Russia, in Kiev, but then it was Soviet Union.
Mm-hmm.
My mother worked for KGB. Had a really abusive, traumatizing childhood. Then we came to America. I was 15 and a half, and my mother was expecting for me she trained me to work for KGB and to be a certain way. And instead of that, I ran away from home, and I went through lifetime of abuse and abusive boyfriends, alcohol. It was very self-destructing. I never knew love. I never knew that I could be loved. I never knew I deserved to be loved. I thought something was really drastically wrong with me until I woke up. And it was a very interesting transformation for me. I was extremely scared. I was in a situation where I was stuck again and I wanted to grow and I didn't know how. And I was with my 5th husband and I was miserable. So I wanted to start a business and he wouldn't let me in. We ended up splitting up. I had absolutely no money. Was left with 5 dogs and no money. And I started a business. It's a beauty business. It was only 2 days old, no money, nothing. I was so scared that it actually pushed me to a different level. Something woke me up. Well, now I know that it was God that woke me up. I was awakened by my angels or guides, if you say. And within a moment, I realized that all the fear and everything that I've been living through and with was my construct. It was an epiphany that I can't even explain of the feeling I had. It was like it gave me, in the second, it gave me a power and ability to realize, wait a minute, if I have constructed all this, and there is God, which I didn't even know there was one because my family was atheist, and the God loves me, then I deserve to be loved. And that's when it started. I started digging really deep into myself, really deep. And I
Gotcha.
want to tell everybody, it takes courage. It is not easy to dig into yourself, but it is so rewarding. I
So
mean, go ahead.
how did you become aware? Like, one of the things that I want to talk about with you is your gifts of like clairvoyance, and I think you also are into channeling. How did
Yeah.
you become aware of those abilities?
I've It happened almost overnight.
Hmm.
I had a woman approach me. She was a psychic. I was at a networking event. I didn't know who she was, or she was a psychic. And she goes, "I know you in a past life." She goes, "We knew each other. We actually worked together." And she starts telling me something that my mother told me when I was 8 years old in Russia that nobody ever knew. It was a really terrible story. I never repeated to anybody. So at that moment, that was like, aha, there is something out there. So I go, wait a minute, I need to know this. Where is God and who is God? Where is Jesus Christ and who is Jesus Christ? Where are
Hmm.
the angels? What happens when we die? As soon as I start asking, I start getting answers. And it actually works for everybody. That's how we get information. All you have to do is ask, and it shows up. That's what basically what started it.
Like, so were you like initially like skeptical, or did you just believe right away? What happened? How was
It wasn't a belief, it was a knowing. There's a big difference when you believe something. There's always like, well, I
um
believe this, but there's a
yeah.
doubt. But I knew. It was like my heart knew. It wasn't in my brain, it wasn't anywhere else, it was in my heart. I knew. So
Okay.
once that started, I started asking God, okay, God, how do I love myself 100%? And this is a really big one. That is what really any person at any moment, any time can stop and say, God, how do I love myself 100%?
Good
And
point.
this takes you to a new level because the answers start coming. God is inside everybody. God is inside our DNA. Our soul is a piece of God. This is who we are. This is why we're here. We're here to expand. We're here to learn. We're here to literally get traumatized so we can grow. This was
Gotcha.
our original purpose to be here. I
Gotcha.
know it sounds kind of crazy, but without trauma, you don't grow.
I think it actually sounds kind of normal. And you're right about if you don't have the opposite, you're not going to
Yeah.
experience what that other opposite is. I guess that's the way to say it. Um, you talk a lot about like quantum healing and energy. Um, when you first started, was that part of it, or did you come to know quantum energy and quantum healing later on?
I understood that what I was knowing is a part of a quantum equation, if you want to put it that way. Um, at first, I thought that it was just God and angels who were helping me. Then I started realizing that my entire being, and not just mine, everybody is, we are all made out of the same thing, basically. We are all energy. And this energy is a quantum energy, and that's where it
Mhm.
starts. We don't make energy, the energy makes us.
Gotcha.
So our emotions, our feelings, our memories, it is all energy. It is all quantum energy. It's like in the computer, it's like programs. Imagine you can delete programs in the computer. You can also delete quantum energy that you don't like. There's a programs. So
Okay.
that's what I started doing.
So, tell me just a little bit. I want to make sure that we are talking about the same quantum energy and quantum, the word quantum. How do you define it so that you use it in your practice?
Okay, to me, quantum is defined like God is a huge part of it. Quantum energy is energy that is multiplied by existing. Basically, that's what it means. You can replicate the energy, you can delete the energy, and actually, we are quantum energy. We are physics, we are biology. All this is quantum energy. The
Okay.
most important thing is that what I found, most important to me, probably not to everybody else, is that our DNA, I can see the DNA, and I can see that we actually have operating systems, and our DNA looks like a circuit board. So if you want to look at it, you have a soul, and you have a consciousness, which is two separate things. And we have a body, and the body is a biological computer.
o-
This is
Okay.
why it makes it very easy for me to, once you see it, you can do something with it. Like like algebra, like you can make, some people don't know algebra, but I'm really good at it. It creates an equation for me, and I learned how to delete these particles. I
Okay.
basically take a particle of energy and I split it in four. So, for example, I myself had really bad depression. I had PTSD. I had traumatic experiences that caused me memories, and I didn't know how to deal with them. I would do things, and then something would remind me of something. It would freak me out. I had
Mhm.
nightmares. I would compare things to what happened before. This is all memories. So our memory is like a file in your hard drive, and they're very easy to delete because memory is just an energy. Every time you think, let's say you're in the present and you're having a great day, all of a sudden you see something that reminds you of something
Mhm.
from the past. It's just a file that you brought into the open. So I realized that these programs, the depression, the sadness, the anger, the hate, guilt, shame, they're all negative programs that we did not get from God. God does not make us with those programs. God makes us with love, healing, peace, and joy. So all those negative programs, they can be deleted. So I start breaking up the particles in my own. I just started asking God to please split the particles in four, each particle like the depression or the PTSD.
Okay.
So just ask God to split the particles in four. I work with particles and it ceased to exist. So you can be feeling fear at one moment. Maybe you've had a fear of, let's say, closed spaces, or you've had a fear of swimming, or you've had a fear of heights. Within a second, I delete it. You're never afraid of it again. That's
You,
how
you,
fast it works. It is not a, that's why it's quantum. It is not a prolonged process. It is not having to go for sessions numerous times. It's gone. And then, just as easy as that, I connect to God energies because I channel straight from God consciousness. And I download people with good programs,
okay.
joy, love.
Most of I think that's absolutely fascinating, and that I think is probably a differentiation between what you do and what other psychologists or therapists or coaches do. Is you look at the immediate change. You
Yeah.
flip the switch immediately. Um, like, give us an example of like somebody you've worked with, and all of a sudden they were one way, and then they flipped the script and they were the other way.
I have a client. She's been living in an abusive marriage for 46 years. I think for 56 years. She was literally a doormat for her husband. He never appreciated her, never cared about her, extremely mentally abusive, would not let her have money, and all kinds of these things. Treated her like a basically terrible.
Hmm.
She didn't see anything wrong with it. She just thought that's how it was supposed to be. I deleted from her these beliefs, and some of it was actually in her DNA. She inherited from her mother. They were from South Ecuador. Yeah, from the Ecuador. And I guess it ran in generations in her family because women were considered very submissive and just only good for one thing. Like, your wife, you got to be good to your husband and do everything he says.
Hmm.
I literally deleted all these perceptions on her, all the memories and existence and the genes too. Like you delete genetic diseases and disorders because genes is also a program. It's nothing but a program. That's how I see it. And literally, I'm not kidding. She's getting a divorce.
So
There was
how
such a big switch.
what are the stages like when you start working with somebody? um
There's no
what are the
stages.
stages? There's no stages, so
Mm-mm. It's
it's
immediate. It's aha. When you change from one state of being to a different state of being, you can't tell the difference that you're changing because you're in it.
okay.
So one moment, let's say you were living in fear, sadness, or depression, or and the next moment you forget what it felt like. You actually don't remember. When I look back, and I know from personal experience because I did this to myself, I used to blame my mother constantly for everything that happens to me. I used to have really bad victim consciousness. I used to blame my husbands. I used to blame everybody for mistreating me. Once I realized that all that was in me, if it wasn't in me, it wouldn't have happened to start with. I've attracted it for some reason. My being, my consciousness, my soul has decided to go through these experiences, and I picked my mother as my mother for a reason. We pick our own parents. And
Mhm.
one of the biggest things that I've learned is that those of us who pick abusive parents, we choose to go through the worst of the worst, because abusive mother or father, especially mother, really creates a lifelong trauma. Well, trauma is energy. So from learning from myself, I've deleted all this from me. Now when I think back, I don't have to go through these long times of thinking, oh, well, how
Okay.
do I deal with this situation? How do I deal with this situation? It's gone. I don't have to relive it. I don't have to rethink it. I don't think it's healthy for people to relive their trauma.
Do people need to work with you over a long period of time, or is it, just a one or two or a few sessions? How do people work with you then?
Some people, they just need one session with me because they don't have that much. Like, we have different souls and different consciousnesses. The longest incarnation, we have past lives,
Mhm.
and some people have future lives. I'm one of the oldest there are. This is my 8.4 million incarnation. Each soul in each consciousness has that many incarnations. So if you've had as many as I did, I carry all that luggage with me. That's where the luggage comes from. It's not from this life. It's from past lives. Same thing with fears, like people who are afraid of water and they never swam, they never drowned. People who are afraid of have claustrophobia or heights.
Mhm.
This is because of past life experiences, and I delete those too.
So how do you know if somebody is, abused or they live in an abusive relationship?
I can see it.
Or how do you know what I'm going to just use the word right now because I can't think of a better one, the right modality to put them in? In other words, how do you know, or they know, or
Everybody,
anyone knows what the right next step is?
okay, everybody on earth has trauma. There is not one person here who hasn't had trauma. So everybody is the right person for this. Literally, it takes your personal decision to say, okay, I'm done living like this. I don't want this anymore in my life. And from now on, I want to be happy and free of this. The second you choose that, that's the second you can get rid of it. And that's what I'm here for.
And then what do you step into? In other words, you want to get rid of this, but how do you know what the next right thing to jump into is?
And can you clarify that, like the
In
next
other
right
words,
thing?
okay, I know I don't want to be eaten by the lion behind me, but
Okay.
there's other things in front of me. There's a bear, a tiger, a snake, um, or maybe there's flowers and a garden and
I
something else.
understand.
How
Okay.
do I know what the next right step is to get away from the thing that's behind me or on
It
me right
comes
now?
it comes to you as soon as I delete the bad things.
Okay.
Literally, as soon as the lion and the because if you have a lion, you're gonna have a bear and you're gonna have a tiger. Those
Hmm.
are all your fears. By the way, constructed by your subconscious. I
Okay.
delete them. They're gone. These are programs that are running. Those are the ones that I delete. So only the flowers are left. So what's the next thing to do? You go smell the flowers.
Hmm. And then what in your mind, what is the whole reason for living all of these multiple lives that we have lived? What is the
Um,
purpose?
this is very interesting. It's quite a long story. I'm going to try to make it short. When we broke off from God, our souls are pieces of God. When we broke off from God, we've created physicality. We create physicality, and our first Earth was Mars. They found pyramids and Sphinx on Mars. This is where we started. But we did not know, and when we were just in physicality, we still loved each other. We cared about each other. We were givers. We had no idea what evil was. We had no idea how to mistreat each other. So this wasn't working. We were not expanding. God energy was vibrating at 27,000 hertz at that time, which is not that high because now God vibration is way like it's an 27 trillion Googleplex, and Google is the highest number known to humans. So
Hmm.
Google and the power of Google is Googleplex. Okay, it's too much into that. But anyway, the whole idea was to expand our souls. As our souls expand, God energy expands. So we actually created evil for greater good. And I'm not going to get into details how that happened because it's another long story. But that's what happened. So it was 270 trillion of us who broke off from God. They gave up their souls for greater good. And that's how the evil was created. So we've been living in this universe trying to get up to where the evil is no longer needed. And we have reached that point in November 11th of 2020. We got into fifth dimension. And before that, when we're living in third dimension, the vibration on earth was the highest vibration was 1000. This is where Jesus Christ vibrated at 1000. So it was vibration of enlightenment. And the lowest vibration was 30, 20 or 30. This is where vibration of guilt and shame. And then fear was a 30 to 130. At 200, it was a vibration of courage. This is where you have courage to look inside yourself and grow. So now, in fifth dimension, our vibration went up to 100,000. And these other dimensions got created like a minus fifth dimension. So those of us who went up in vibrations, who chose God, who chose the good, went up in the vibration. And those who chose to stay with evil, they went down in vibration. That's another long story. Since then, we've been going up and up, and we right now actually going through a tremendous shift. That the most light workers are familiar with what I'm talking about, because this is the biggest shift that has ever happened since we broke away from God. This year, November 11th, I'm checking if I can talk about it. Some of it. Okay. This year, November 11th, we're going up into this new state of being. Those of us who stayed with God, those of us who've connected to God in our worst times, those of us who've prayed to God, who've asked God for help, who got away from blaming everybody around us and said, okay, what can I do in me to change so my life is better? Those of us are going to be swept up into this really high vibration. And this is when all this pain and all this, I'll call it suffering, because we actually do suffer here on earth. They also have souls. It's very hard for us. It's been very difficult. So this is over. This is our salvation, if you want to say. All the evil in January of 2021, all the evil was forgiven, and everybody had the second chance. This is when we got into fifth dimension. Everybody who was doing evil, creating evil, the takers, all the takers of this world, they got their souls, they got their forgiveness, and they got a new chance. So those who didn't stay with it, those who chose to stay with evil, they literally were moved into a lower dimension. And since then, we've had a war between good and bad, between God and evil, literally, between hell and heaven, if you want to say. Well, we're winning. Hands down, we're winning.
Let me ask you a question then. So, because we started out with trauma, and is that something that has to be removed before you can move to this next dimension, or is there some other requirement that needs to happen?
It's not basically a requirement, but it's a need, because if you don't remove it yourself, or you have somebody like me remove it from you, it will be removed by God. But it becomes more difficult. This is, I think, people who are hearing me right now, they know what I'm talking about, because there's so much since August 8th, it has been happening. Actually, since August 9th, we've been going through a tremendous shift. All the people's worst fears, all their worst emotions, people walk around don't realize why they feel so much pain, so much hurt all of a sudden. People are crying for no reason. This is all because the vibrations are so high. They're pushing it out. That's what's happening. It's a cleansing time. It's been very difficult for a lot of people. I know this from 7, 8 clients calling me in one day. I think I'm going crazy. What is going on with me? It's the shift. It's the very emotionally, and for some people physically, painful time. But this is temporary. This is going to be completely over September 29th.
What are some steps that people need to take if they want to cleanse themselves? I know they can come to you, but like just at home, what are some things that people could start right away?
I have a hack for it. I don't know what you want to call it. I have an answer for that. Okay. You have to, and you don't even have to mean it. You just have to say it. God, how do I love myself 100%? It works like magic. The more you say it, the more it works. But then the more you say it, the more you start feeling it. And then you start growing. Like, I have a client, her son, she was really, I'm not allowed to connect people with their souls. It's just not something that I have a right to do because everybody has their own journey. And I'm not
Mhm.
allowed to mess with it. Some I'm allowed to help, but some I'm not. So her son, he didn't have a soul. He went through traumatic experience and he disconnected from himself and he lost his soul, literally. So I told her to tell him to say, God, how do I love myself 100% for at least a week? 3 days later, I checked on him and he already had his soul. It works really fast. But not only that, now this has been about a month, and I really didn't have to do anything to work on him. Everything that he's been wanting to feel comes with it. Because everything you ever want in your life comes with loving yourself unconditionally.
Gotcha.
Something I learned when I was just trying to discover what's what, like what is the meaning of enlightenment and how does it differentiate from love? Well, it doesn't. Enlightenment equals unconditional self love.
Mhm.
So if you, and it's not an easy thing to get to unconditional self love. It means you have to accept yourself for all your faults, everything. I mean, you don't really have to accept all your physical faults or aging. We're talking about aging earlier
Mhm.
because you can change that too. But you have
Talk
to
about
accept.
aging for a second, because that actually is very interesting. That
Yeah. So yeah, I have something to say about that. So um, we all have our own constructs, our own universes, our own perceptions. Your perception, your set of perception is your universe. That's what you create, basically. So if you think about it, with the moment we're born into this life, and we start talking to our parents and the TV and the radio and school, what do they tell you? You're gonna grow up, you're going to get sick, and you're going to die. And you're lucky if you live until you're 100 years old.
is true.
But hang on a second. If you look back, Abraham in the Bible, he lived until he was 900. We have the same DNA. What happened? It's a different construct. It's a different perception. Then it was acceptable to live till you're 900 years old. Now you're 55 years old and you're a senior citizen. I just turned 60 2 weeks ago. I don't
Mhm.
feel it. I know I don't look it. And I'm never going to be 60 as people perceive it because I believe that I'm 29. That's where your anti-aging really comes from. And that's where you're aging, because if you perceive that you're old, this is what you're going to be. The aches and the pains in the body, and giving into this and saying, oh, I'm old, oh, I gave up, oh, everything hurts. You're creating it. So here's
Yeah.
the trick. You wake up in the morning, and as soon as you wake up in the morning, you don't have a mirror in front of you. You don't have your ID that tells you how old you are. You just have to say, I'm 30 years old. And I know I'm 30 years old. You do this for about 3 weeks. It usually takes 21 days for change to happen. You're going to start aging backwards because, number one, our DNA was already turned to 29 years old when we got into fifth dimension. People don't know that, and they're still aging because they're expecting the aging. And remember, we create what we expect. We create what we perceive.
Yeah. It's funny. I was reading I forget if I was reading it or if I saw it on a video somewhere, an experiment that was done quite a while back where they took a bunch of older men, and they were in their 70s and 80s, and put them in a village that was made up, I guess, of what it was like when it was in like 1959, I believe, was the year that they put them back to. So they only watched like the Ed Sullivan Show. They only watched news from that era. They only had things from that
Hmm.
era. And I think this experiment only went on for about a week, but they did whatever measurements that they did before and after the test, and showed that people had, I guess, healed themselves somewhat and gone
Yeah.
back a little bit in time because they were living in that age. So,
I had a handyman, real quick. I had a handyman was working in my business in my spa that I own, and he used to drive me crazy. He would walk around. He was 67 years old. He would walk around. Oh, I'm so old. Like he would just slouch down and like used to drive me crazy. So I couldn't take it. I go, listen. I'm not gonna mention his name. I go, listen. Homework. Go home when you wake up in the morning. You tell yourself you're 30 years old. He did everything I told him.
mhm,
So I'm not kidding. 2 months later, his hair was turning dark. He changed within 2 weeks. He was walking up straight. I mean, he was a different person. His pains and aches were going away, but his hair was getting color.
Wow.
I
I
thought that was really cool.
I think I do believe that people age themselves because they tell themselves that they are getting older. So I absolutely do believe that that is the
So
case.
does TV
Yeah.
and all these AARP and insurances and life insurances. This is like our society is a construct for people to age because you look to get social security. So you already think you're old at 62. It's like, oh my God, really? I mean, I could see myself going skydiving at 62.
Yeah.
Um,
What's the main message you want to get out to people, especially those that have PTSD, they have trauma, they have all these things in their head. What do you want if you could give one message to people, what would it be?
look past the illusion. Well, actually, going to be two messages, three
Okay,
messages.
2.
Look past the illusion. The illusion is created by us, by our constructs in the brain. Uh, Message number two: you are the most important, powerful person in your own universe.
Mhm.
You have your own universe. Get what you want out of it. Create what you want in your life. And message number three: ask God how to love yourself because nothing works more than that. Those three.
I think those are 3 powerful ones. I love that. Um, Let me do something. I want to play a game with you. I want to
Okay.
learn more about who is Nina, and we're gonna play a game. We're gonna play a game called This or That. I'm gonna give you 2 choices. You can choose one or the other, but not neither or both. So let's find out what
Okay.
Nina thinks and what Nina believes. We'll start easy. We'll get like a little tougher as we go along, and then maybe get thought provoking at the end. Um, let's start with something super easy. How about guided meditation or silent meditation?
Silent
Okay. Talk therapy or energy work?
energy work,
Okay. Mindfulness or manifestation?
manifestation,
Yes. Traditional medicine or alternative healing?
alternative healing,
Okay. Personal experience or scientific evidence?
personal experience,
Okay. Now let's go a little tougher. How about with energy healing, internal or external?
internal.
Internal healing. Okay.
Yes.
Quantum physics or metaphysics?
Quantum,
Okay. Prevention or cure?
cure.
Okay. I think I find that one interesting. Instead of being preventative, you look at the cure instead.
Prevention is caused by fear. It's false.
Okay.
You can't prevent something that's never going to happen. If you think something's going to happen, you already created fear. And fear
Um,
is going to create you. Why would you want to prevent cancer if God made you without cancer? Who created the prevention? It's all made of fear. It's
Interesting.
just
I
to
like
sell
that.
more meds. It
Okay.
puts money in the pocket of pharmaceutical companies. Prevention,
Gotcha. Okay. How about empathy or boundaries?
empathy,
Okay. Ego or higher self?
higher self,
Okay. Certainty in science or faith in the unknown?
faith in the unknown.
Really? Um,
Absolutely.
I guess that would go back to what you were saying a second ago about what's been created already. Why would you create these things that are bad for you?
Correct.
Okay.
Step into
I
unknown.
love that you have this focus. You are laser focused on creating your own universe.
Unlimited. My other business name is Energy Work Unlimited.
Uh-huh.
I'm just getting it going. It's all about us being unlimited. The only constructs we have, the only boundaries they have, the only borders we have, the only boxes we have are the ones that we created by listening to others and
Okay.
listening to their fears. Our fears are only based on what we hear. Or, of course, some things that happened to us in the past lives.
Okay.
But mainly, if the TV and the radio and the commercials for insurance and medications and prevention, if they weren't there, we wouldn't even worry about anything happening. So
Good
stop
point.
listening.
Okay. So I think I already know how you're gonna answer this. Karma or free will?
Free will.
Gotcha. That was my $100 bet right there. Physical reality or conscious reality,
Conscious reality.
nature or nurture.
I can't say neither, right?
Mm-mm. You
Okay.
can explain what you choose though.
Nature or nurture? Nature.
Okay. Why did you choose that one?
Because we're naturally created a certain way. So whether
O-
you're nurtured or not, you can choose the way you want to be.
Okay. How about healing as an art or as a science?
It's science.
Science. Okay. Individual consciousness or collective consciousness?
Individual consciousness.
Okay. Because we create our own reality.
Yes.
And are people living in their own created reality right now, or are they living in a collective consciousness reality right now?
If you're gonna take a group of people on Earth, we living in a collective consciousness reality as a group. What happens in politics, what happens with weather, even, or what happens with global warming. This is all our collective consciousness creating this. But everybody's also living in their own. Everybody's running their own little program, little operate. We have operating systems, so we have our own. Your purpose, your journey is yours.
So that right there, how do you change if we're living in a world with all these consciousnesses, right? I guess that's a word. Um, and I've got my own, and you've got your own, and they've got their own. Do we need them to all meld together, or how do we make the world a better place
The
if
more
everyone's got
people
their
know
own?
how to love themselves, the more people, it's all in the intent of your daily life. What do you do during the day? See, if you truly love yourself, what
Mhm.
you want to do, you want to share it with others. You want to give to others because you have so much of it. So when you have that, if your intent is to give from self-love, we create an amazing reality. Those
Okay.
who just want to take, they wake up in the morning. Okay, what can I take today? What can I take today? I don't have enough. That's definitely not self love. Okay, that's like more like self hate. I never have enough.
Okay.
They create different reality, a bad reality, if you want to call it. So, what's happening now, we having more of those who are waking up to the consciousness of love. God is love. God equals love, basically.
Okay.
Since we
All
made
right.
it to fifth dimension, it has already gotten us to this uh, place where our multiple consciousness of over consciousness of overall of people who are givers, who want love, who want better earth. That's what got us there. It
Okay.
didn't wasn't the ones who just wanted to take and take.
Gotcha.
I tried to make it as simple as I can, I think.
We'll put people in touch with you so they can ask questions. But like, I got two more for you: acceptance or transformation.
Acceptance.
Okay. Now, how explain that? My bet was on transformation, but why acceptance instead of
Because you
transformation?
can't have transformation without acceptance.
Okay.
You have
Okay.
to accept something first before you can transform it.
Uh, that makes sense. Gotcha.
Yeah.
How about last one: linear time or eternal now?
Eternal now.
Okay. Even with because we talked about past lives before, but are those I past lives happening at the same time, or how does that work if you look at eternal now?
They are happening at the same time as now, but they also in the past. Because we're on Earth. There's only time is only on Earth. I've noticed when I work with my guides or even I work with other beings,
Hmm.
I've been working with other beings than just most people know about. Some actually evil beings try to make turn them to God, which has been working tremendously. I don't want to get into this right now, but I've been realizing that if I am doing something here, my conversation with them is here in the now. And then I have to go to work on my clients in the spa. And then I have some other clients that I work energetically on. And then I come back to that conversation in the evening. For them, there's no time passed. I
Hmm.
can't pick up at the same spot as I started. I don't quite understand this with my brain because I still have a human brain, how that works. but I know that that's for a fact. That's how it works. That you can jump. Well, I've learned in this life, even though I'm in a human body, I've learned that I can jump in the past. Like I can go 300 lives back and change something there. I remove, that's what I do. I remove the original events from 400 lives back,
Oh,
and it changes in the present.
I think that is fascinating. We're gonna have to have another conversation about that. I wonder if and we'll talk about this later. I'd love to just have a session and we talk with somebody and either look at their past lives and change something in now, or something along those lines. We'll get into that next time you and I talk. We'll do that. Okay. I want people to stay in touch with you for sure. We've got your website right now. We've got advancedrapidhealing.com. You also mentioned you had another website,
Yes, Energy Work Unlimited.
Energy Work Unlimited.
.com.
Okay, .com. So advancedrapidhealing.com and energyworkunlimited.com. And
Actually,
you've
that one
also,
is under construction right now. Energy Work Unlimited. I'm changing it, so you probably get it the same one if you go to both. Okay.
there you go. We'll also find you on Facebook and on Instagram at Advanced Rapid Healing. So either one of those three ways, any one of those three ways, will get you in touch with Nina.
I prefer a phone call.
A phone call. Do you want to throw out a phone number?
Yes, it's 561-654-0177.
Excellent. We'll have people get in touch with you that way. Thank you so much for being on the show. It's been absolutely fabulous having you on A Funny Way of Looking. Everyone watching and listening, you can find us at afunnywayoflooking.com. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube. They're all at A Funny Way of Looking. And be sure to hit us up on the website. Look at our new newsletter. Nina's going to be in it because we're going to do a cool article about her and about her work. We'll see that probably, I think, in a week from now. We should probably see the first article about her. So thank you very much for tuning in, and we'll catch you all later. Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody.